Welcome to the Global Trailblazer Talk by Fara and Ken. This episode will be the inaugural episode of a series of episodes discussing the relevant topics covering the latest in digital transformation, capital market trends, and investment opportunities. We will also cover interesting topics such as cryptocurrencies, digital assets, AI, blockchain, venture capital, and many more. We hope that our program will benefit you and help you in your business building strategies. Before we start off, let me introduce to you a little bit about ourselves. I'm Farah, and I co founded Kanson Ventures, a venture capital fund management company registered with Malaysia Securities Commission, based in Kuala Lumpur. Being strategically positioned in the Southeast Asia region in the emerging markets allows us to have better access to proprietary deals in Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines, Vietnam, Korea, and many more. We are currently raising for our fund focused on high impact deals, technology, tech, AI, blockchain, sustainable ventures, and more. Our fund is a Sharia compliant fund. My partner, Mr. Kenneth Goodwin Jr., or more fondly known as Ken, is the general managing partner and founder of Genesis, a New York based investment boutique firm advising multinationals, mid market firms, and venture capitalists in Asia, North America, and Europe. Ken is currently raising for his 144 Trailblazer Fund, a global digital venture fund. Ken also sits on the many public and private advisory boards such as SOSX China Accelerator, MOX, and R3 to name a few. A little bit of disclaimer that our discussion here does not constitute an investment advice. Kindly do your own due diligence prior to taking any positions. Welcome, Ken. It is indeed an honor and privilege to have you with us today. Could you share with us some key takeaways of your experiences when you work at Wall Street and the Tokyo Stock Exchange?
Well, one, I want to thank you very much, Farah, for taking the time for us to have this podcast. It's such a great opportunity and an honor to be doing this podcast with you, the Trailblazer Podcast. But to get to your question, I started my career at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for about 10 years. My claim to fame at the Fed was part of a program called the Term Asset Backed Liquidity Facility Program, also known as TALF/TARP. And as anyone could recall, back in 2007, 2008, we had the huge financial crisis here in the United States that really dealt more with commercial real estate, the real estate market, asset-backed securities, and commercial mortgage-backed securities. So I spent some time working on a specialized team, working with primary dealers, which are the major banks, and several of the major asset managers, Farah, that I'm sure that you're very aware of, like Tiger Global Management, Rosedale Capital, and so forth. I'd also spent some time at the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And while at the Tokyo Stock Exchange, I was a Mike Mansfield Fellow. Mike Mansfield was a former ambassador of the United States to Japan. And the work that we did was mainly between the US and Japan. So I spent time on the trading floor monitoring Japanese government bonds, but I also worked within the listing groups, and specifically within the listing group, helping small and medium enterprises to list on the exchange. Those opportunities were extremely important because it gave me the opportunity to understand not just capital markets, but mainly how companies operate, from the governance all the way down to the operations, from the dealing with cash flow and the balance sheet and the income statement.
So, Ken, could you also tell us more about your plan on the 144 Trailblazer Fund? I had so much about it.
Yes, yes. Well, one, the name Trailblazers, like you and I, we're both trailblazers. And you'll find that out, and the audience will find that out when we start asking questions on your background. But we're essentially, trailblazers are companies that are pretty much there at the growth seed to Series A level. And these firms tend to be digitally transformed firms. So they're not just growing in terms of just the equity, but they're growing in terms of providing products and services to their client base. And their client base tends to not only just be consumers, but also corporations. The 144 Trailblazer Fund is one of the few funds that will use a security token offering. And essentially, with a security token offering, it is an actual token offering. So it will be done, it will be registered with the Security Exchange Commission here in the United States. with an actual token. So it's going to be done the correct way. But that provides an opportunity for the fund managers, for me and myself, to target specific investors. Typically, when you do a security token offering, you're limited to about 99 investors, which is great for us because we want investors who've been in this space, who've done digital asset management before. They understand blockchain technology. So, and they're also trying to be holders. Holders meaning that their ultimate goal is to keep their position for a period of time. So they understand that they're going to be locked out for about a year, and that's great. On the flip side of that, yes. And that's mainly the structure of the fund. Now, here's the automation part of this fund. The fund is actually, it's unique in the sense that it's going to automate the actual onboarding process. So it's going to also offer the opportunities for the actual investors to have wallets, as well as for the founders to have wallets. And the onboarding process will be digitized. And digitized, what we mean by that, Farah, is we're going to automate the process where you're going to be able to go in a deal room. The term sheets will be automated. It will be an ongoing automated process that allows for the flexibility for both the founders as well as for the deal makers, as well as for the investors. So this is a fully automated fund. The ultimate purpose is to narrow down the time period it takes for capital raising. So it allows for the fund, the Trailblazer Fund, to be able to deploy more capital.
I guess digitization is the way to go, and I see that there's a lot of technologies being incorporated into fund management, especially AI and blockchain, to manage our funds. Can't wait to actually run our funds together, Ken.
Right.
Yes, yes. So we got to know more about you. Okay, Farah, we have a set of questions for you. So we love more about what you're doing in Asia. Farah, could you tell us what does Kanson do, and what are your plans for Kanson? And could you tell us more about it and how investors could participate in this new exciting fund?
Thank you so much, Ken, for the question. So, Kanson Ventures is a fund management company I started, and we are currently raising funds. The meaning of kanzun in Arabic is treasure, and a similar sounding meaning in Japanese, kanzen, means perfect. So we put it together, it means perfect treasure. Our strategy is to acquire the treasures of the 21st century, which includes digital assets, to identify potential unicorns and which covers the deep tech, AI, and blockchain space, and aggregate them under one fund. We also look forward to initial steps to digitize our fund in terms of accepting cryptocurrency as a funding method and also automate our investment processes. So far, we have identified a few companies that is in the AI and blockchain space that have indicative returns of 3x to 5x in 3 years' time. So we are currently fundraising for 6.5 million to be invested into around 15 companies around the Southeast Asia region. We focus in Malaysia. We would like to invite all interested investors and ecosystem players to join us in our journey.
That sounds great. That sounds very exciting. I'm sure that many investors are going to be intrigued by the companies in your portfolio. The fact that you are doing it in Southeast Asia, it's even more intriguing of opportunities across different verticals. It sounds like these deals are running from the debt to the equity side, from even seed to much more growth stage types of firms. And I think investors, when they look at their portfolio, they're going to have a nice opportunity to determine not just the match and the mix, but also the balance that they get in their portfolio. So thank you so much for sharing that, Farah. I think that is a sentiment globally, the fact that you have the opportunity to move across, not just from the investor side, but also be more of an LP, but being able to work. It sounds like you did a lot of fund management work also, as well as with the being able to go and raise capital, as well as deploy capital, but also at the same time being able to work with the actual documentation side too. That's very important. And then you got a great amount of mentoring, which is significant in the industry. I was just reading an article recently. The numbers are still globally are still small when it comes down to the amount of Black and Brown and women and minority fund managers in our space. Those numbers are anywhere between 3 to 5%. And so there's been a lot of initiatives that have been done. A lot of institutional investors are starting to target the black and brown and women and fund managers to invest in, to co-invest in, and that's great to see. But it's still a long way to go, and these challenges offers us a unique opportunity to diversify who we're working with. So it sounds like you had a plethora of different types of firms and investments that you've done. Some of them actually touch a little bit on smart cities, which I think is great to touch on, because it seems like you've done a lot on the ESG side, which is very, very important for both our funds, respectfully. But I'm going to leave this last part for you here, because I think we're almost at the end, right?
Yes, yes. I think we've covered grounds, and thank you so much, Ken. It is indeed an honor and privilege to have you with us, and we look forward to also to run a few more series together. And yeah, for those interested investors who would like to know more about our funds, please kindly do contact us directly uh, with Ken at his LinkedIn, or with myself at my LinkedIn. And yeah, we hope that you enjoy our podcast, and we look forward to have you with us again in our next series. Thank you all, and have a good day.